Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Ashley and today I thought it might be fun just to sit down very casually and play with some new makeup with you. It has been a heck of a weekend, let me tell you. It has been incredibly stormy and right now the lighting is actually really decent for the overcastness that is outside. Overcastness, that's not grammatically accurate, but kids are sleeping, lighting's working out okay, so I wanted to play with some makeup and bring you along with it. I've had a couple of requests to do a couple of different things, so I think we're going to tie them all into this video here. But the thing that I'm most excited about is I may have made a purchase from Juvia's place. I know I'm already over budget for coming into the month, and I'm still over budget because I picked up the Wahala Palette. If you caught my last Temptation Station, you know that I was really bummed that I missed out on the original release of this palette, and I have been stalking the Juvia's Place website, waiting for it to come back in, and when it did, I picked it up pretty much immediately, and I'm not mad about it. Also, because I was already there and I'm already over budget, I picked up 2 of the lipsticks as well, which I need you guys to be proud of me because even though I am over budget, I wanted to buy so many of these lipsticks and I only picked up 2. So I feel like that is something that is ribbon worthy. But I absolutely am so excited to be using this today. This color story absolutely speaks to me. It is such a fun and vibrant, beautiful color story. The 2 columns here on the edge, these are the ones that really just sucked me in. This center column as well looks absolutely amazing, and I am just very excited to be breaking into it today. I do also have a clip that I'm going to insert right here of me applying my foundation. It is just me applying my Aqua Petite BB Jelly from Halika. In my last update of my A to Z project pan, I did have a request because this foundation has such a weird consistency to it. It really does look curdled, which is gross, I know, but it's a gorgeous product and I really love the way that it looks on my skin, the way that it sits on my skin. But because it has such a weird consistency, there have been requests to say, okay, well, how does that apply? And I feel kind of silly, but it's not that interesting. You just put it on your face the same as you would any other foundation. I blend mine out with a brush, but certainly I've used a sponge as well, and that works just as nicely. And it looks great. So I hope that you enjoyed that and that it helped satisfy that curiosity. And I'm so sorry if it was anticlimactic because, I don't know, it just wasn't that interesting to me at least. But so I do have my foundation, concealer, powder, and a little bit of bronzer on. And the other request that I've had, my dear friend Nona challenged me to do a green eyeshadow look. She recently, and I will make sure to, I think put it up in the cards. I will go ahead and link the video where she used green on her eyes. She has a series where she is doing an eye look for each of the birthstones, and there was a green look that she just did. And I happened to mention in the comments that I am always very attracted to green eyeshadow. In fact, it is one of the reasons that I buy palettes sometimes, but I very rarely actually use green eyeshadow. So she said, I want you to do a green look. So that is what we are doing today. So I will be using these beautiful shades right here in the center, and I am super, super excited about it. And yeah, let's just go ahead and start building the eye look. I am going to practice doing this with my hair actually down because I do want to get to where I'm more comfortable doing that. So we're gonna see how that works. Now I am going to start fairly blown out with this shade right here called Over Sabby. I think that's how you pronounce it. If I mispronounce any of these, which it's quite likely that I will, I apologize. But I'm very excited, and I mean absolutely no disrespect if that is what ends up happening. Now I have already primed my eyes using my MAC paint. Actually, let me zoom you in. I have already primed my eyes using my MAC paint pot in Painterly, and then just set that down with just some powder. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start by kind of blowing this out pretty dramatically, I think, and then define it in the crease a little bit more. The thing about Juvia's Place is that their eyeshadows are very, very pigmented, and I love that. Don't get me wrong, this is not a knock on that, but it is something to be aware of, especially if you haven't used Juvia's Place before. Start slow and build up. That's the nice thing. They are very pigmented, but they are very easy to work with and very, very buildable. And I think that that's kind of the important mix, at least in my opinion, because sometimes things are so pigmented that once you've laid it down, you can't really do a whole lot with it. And then you're like, well, now what? And this isn't that. However, if you go in with a very, very dense brush and just start going to town, you may not, you may not love the results. All right, so it already has kind of the look that I was going for. I'm just using this fluffy brush from Alamar Cosmetics. It is quite fluffy and it is floppy. It is floppy, so that's kind of nice. It'll give you a very soft and diffused look. Just like that. Okay, and then kind of not sure. I think what I want to do is, now that I've got that laid down, I'm going to take Fighter, which is this green shade right here, and I think I want to just apply it all over the lid, and then take a little bit of Gossip, this kind of greeny gold color here, and kind of probably tap that in the middle to achieve kind of like a halo eye. And then if I need some additional definition in the outer corners, I can go in with Sis, which is this deep shade right here. That's kind of the plan. And hopefully everything works out the way that I want it to. Yeah, so I also wanted to talk a little bit about my AC, because I did have some concerned questions about that. I did mention, actually in a couple of videos, but I think the more recent one was when I cut all my hair off, which I'm actually really happy with how that came out. That could have been a disaster. But I mentioned that my AC wasn't working, and I had some just concern. It isn't that it is 100% like busted and not working literally at all. That is a very dangerous situation, especially in the South, and especially with 3 very small children. So it isn't that it is 100% busted, but it's not working well, I think is kind of the better way to describe it. And that is still a problem because, you know, it gets 80, 83, 87 degrees at some points in our house. That's hot. And again, small children. So we have been, you know, trying to work through that, and we've had a few people out to the house at this point. And the reason that it's been a few people is because everyone's telling us something different, and it's so frustrating because, I mean, we're not trained in HVAC, so I don't know what to tell you. But they'll go up and they'll poke around in our attic and they'll look at our outdoor unit, and then they'll come down and they'll make a recommendation that almost completely contradicts the recommendation that we got previously. So we've been kind of frustrated, and on Friday we had someone come in that was just a total dirtbag, and he lied to us, we found out, and just did the really nasty sales tactic. So he goes up in our attic and he's poking around. He's like, well, you've got a crack, you've got a leak in your condenser coil, which that is true. We actually did know that. But we were also doing a little bit of price shopping because what we were quoted by the first person that told us that we had a crack in our condenser coil, they made it seem like it really wasn't a huge deal, that yes, coolant is leaking, but I'm going to go ahead and top you off and you should be fine for a while. And so we were hoping to kind of wait a little bit before replacing it. That's something we were told in the spring, but it was going to be like $3,000. And so we hadn't had the girls yet, and we were nervous. So this guy, he's like, you've got tons of cracks. It's almost completely empty, this, that, and the third. And then he was looking at our dampers, and he said that the motor was just gone. Somebody must have stolen it. And we're like, what? That doesn't make any sense, because we had somebody out here last Tuesday who looked at our dampers and he told us something entirely different. He told us that we didn't need a new condenser coil. He told us that we needed booster fans to help increase the airflow so that it gets to all of the rooms. Like, we're getting all this conflicting information. I think I'm gonna take just a little bit of Sis on the outer and inner corner. I think I'm really gonna go for this halo look. So yeah, he told us something entirely different, but he adjusted our dampers and he didn't say anything about the motor being gone. Like, that's so weird. So we're getting all this conflicting information. We're like, well, we're just gonna kind of hold off for a second. We're not gonna do anything quite yet, because, you know, we're getting all this kind of conflicting information. And the guy got kind of weird about it, and so he left us the signed quote and everything. And then a few minutes later, my husband and I are talking in the living room, kind of deciding, you know, what our next move is going to be. And we are hearing these sounds, and it almost sounded like somebody was in our attic again, which couldn't have been the case, because, you know, you had to be in the house. But then all of a sudden we realized that he's in our backyard again. And so he kind of knocks on our window, like not even the door, but like the window. And so my husband goes out there and he's like, yeah, I think it's gonna break like really, really soon. So I'm just gonna turn off your AC so that it doesn't break. And so my husband is taken really kind of aback for a second. And he comes in, he's like, this is what the guy's gonna do. Is that okay? And I was like, no, we can't not have an AC period in August. Like, that's insane. Because when we were talking with him and he, before we told him that we were gonna hold off for a minute while we kind of collect ourselves, I had asked him kind of what scheduling looks like, you know, how soon would you be able to come out to change out that condenser coil? Which, by the way, he said there was only one in stock and he had no idea when that was gonna, you know, sell out, which I guess technically could be true, but in reality, that's a sales tactic, boys and girls. That is a sales tactic. But yeah, he said that best case scenario would be like a week. So even if all of this were true, in best case scenario, you think we're gonna go a week without having an AC? Like, that's insane. You can't do that. And so my husband ran back out front to catch him before he drove away, and he's like, no, dude, you need to turn our AC back on. So we're like, well, dang, now we need to get yet another person out here to take a look at this, because I don't want it to break immediately, and I want to make sure he hasn't like done anything. I don't want to think that way, but you never know. Like, he tried to turn off our AC. Like, let's get real. So we call another company who was able to come out that same day, which was awesome. And the technician that came out was wonderful. He was so, so kind. Took my husband up in the attic, was showing him everything that he was looking at, everything that he was doing, you know, anything that he saw that he thought, you know, was going to be a problem. You know, he was just very educational, very kind. He was amazing. He was wonderful. And we really, really appreciated him. So when we were talking to him, one of our concerns is that the unit we have, we're concerned that it's underpowered for our house. My husband looked up the unit that we have, and just based on the square footage of our house and the information that he found online, he felt like our unit was underpowered for our house. So that was something that we had been kind of asking everybody to be like, so is this a thing? Is this something we should be worried about? Like, what's the what here? So he was awesome, taking him through all of that, and we really, really appreciated it. But he couldn't tell us whether or not the unit was underpowered, because you have to have a specialist come out and like do all these calculations to size the unit, and typically that's only something that they do if you're going to buy a new one. So we're like, well, I mean, if we have to, obviously that's what we would do. We would prefer not to have to, but you know, we got to fix this. What we didn't want to do was just buy a new condenser coil for, you know, for $3,000 or so, just to turn around and have to buy a new unit later on down the line. You know, you want to fix the issue, not just slap a bandage on it, a very expensive bandage. So he calls his people to say, okay, they want to see, you know, what it would look like if they needed to get a new unit. So I'm gonna pause for just a second, and I am gonna go ahead and just with my fingertip, I'm gonna tap Gossip all over the center of my lid. Hopefully it still stays a green look, because I think we're going a little bit more on the yellowy side, but I'm liking where this is going so far. So he calls out this specialist to size our unit. And we did not like him as much. He came in doing the whole like super salesy sort of thing, which my husband and I have both been in sales. Like, we know what the game is. You know, I don't want to necessarily call it a game, but we know what the game is. So he came out, sized our unit. According to him, it is underpowered for the size of our home, which is frustrating. Oh no, I got some on my cheek because I was not paying attention to what I was doing. Dang. But I really like the way that that looks. I may have to put a little bit more green because I took this a little bit higher than I maybe should have. That's okay. Anyway, so he says that it is underpowered for our home, and that, you know, this is his recommendation, all that kind of stuff. And the price that he quoted us was significantly higher than what we were wanting or slash expecting. I mean, obviously nobody wants to have to buy a new AC, but we had kind of an idea of what to be on the lookout for, I guess, because my sister, now, she still lives in Texas, but she replaced her AC a couple of years ago in her house. And so she let us know kind of what she paid, and her square footage is very similar to ours. So we kind of had an idea, you know, if we hear, you know, a number that's in this area, that is what, you know, we would expect. He was considerably above that. So then we have to go into the negotiations, which I hate negotiating anything. I would rather just overpay. Not really, I don't want to overpay. I just want to be quoted what is real and fair. Like, I don't like going through the whole game and the whole dance and everything. But that's just not how it works. And I'm just adding a little bit more gold and just fiddling with it. So I let my husband take point on that because I'm mean like that, I suppose. But yeah, so then, I mean, they were here for hours, and we were not going to make a decision right then and there. We had been dealing with this. They were the second company to come out in one day, and we had had such a rotten experience with that first guy and everything. It was just, we weren't going to make a decision right then and there, especially not to the price point that, you know, something like this would cost, even under, you know, quality circumstances, I guess. And, you know, we were pretty clear about that from the get-go. But so my husband's going through the whole negotiation part. The guy makes a big showing of calling his boss to try to get that number to where we wanted it and everything. And so we got it to closer to what we were thinking. And we're like, okay, well, we're gonna talk about this and get back to you. And this guy got so offended. He got so offended. And he just started like packing his stuff up and taking all of his like warranty information that he was talking to us about and all the information, product information and stuff. And we're like, dude, we told you from the get-go that we weren't going to be like closing this tonight. And he got like, he took it very, very personally, which was really weird, I felt like. Because this was not a young guy. It's not like he was inexperienced or something. You know, he'd been doing this for a minute. So it was a really weird interaction. And, you know, we are going to do it, but we weren't going to, you know, do it right then and there because we needed to go over everything, especially after everything that happened. So that was weird. But it is kind of nice having, because they put some more coolant in there. That was not inexpensive either, but, you know, so it is nice having some cooler air in this house. That is for sure. But yeah, so it's been a bit of a week and we're refinancing the house. So we couldn't have done anything right then and there anyway because we got to wait for that to close, which that closes Monday. Very excited about that because that'll, right now, interest rates are really nice. Not that we had a terrible interest rate or anything, but this will definitely save us some money with me not working and us having twins now. We will take anything we can get. Okay, so how is this looking? Because I feel like it's looking a little bit like a bruise because I'm using these yellows and greens. I mean, I'm not mad at it. I don't think it's an ugly bruise, but it is kind of looking like a bruise. All right, I am going to hop off camera for a second. I'm going to apply my blush and my highlighter and probably some mascara and things like that. And then we'll come back and we'll take a look at the lipsticks because I've done nothing but ramble for however long I've been rambling. All right, so here we are back with the rest of my makeup done without lips, of course. But all I did was I put on my blush and highlight. I'm using my Milani blush in Luminoso, as well as my ColourPop Super Shock Cheek in Fire. Both of those are Project Pan items. And then I put on a little bit of mascara, a little bit of eyeliner. This is my Marc Jacobs highlighter in Rococo. I wish that I had like a gold highlighter because I feel like, eyeliner, because I feel like that would have looked fabulous with this eye look, which by the way, the more I look at it, the more I'm actually really kind of loving it. I also applied lashes. I'm using some Ardell Demi Wispies. No, Ardell Wispies. I don't know. They don't ever print it on the card, which is annoying, and I didn't want to keep the little flap thing. I know none of those were super descriptive words, but while yes, it does kind of look like a bruise, I'm not mad at it. I really like the way that this turned out. I think it is really pretty. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. But I am super pleased with it. I think it came out really, really nicely. Nona, thank you for inspiring me to use some green eyeshadow. But I do want to try on the lipsticks. And spoiler alert, I've actually been using these and loving them. Loving them. So let me go ahead and swatch Kebi for you because it's not going to go with this eye look. This is from the mauves. Yes, the nude mauves. In the Juvia's Place release, there were 3 different sort of color groupings. The mauves, the nudes, and the chocolates. Yes, the mauves, the nudes, and the chocolates. No, I lied. The mauves, the peaches, and the chocolates. If I'm wrong yet again, I'll make sure to put it on the screen somewhere because I'm going off of memory and that's not super great these days. But anyway, so the packaging looks like this. It is really, really pretty. I love this hot pink that fades into kind of a dusty pink. I think it's really, really pretty, as well as the gold embellishment here. Really, really pretty. And then when you twist it up, it has just kind of a fun angle to it. And it is a very sort of velvety looking bullet. And it applies so beautifully and so nicely, and I'm not gonna lie, I want all of them because they're so, so pretty. So this one is Kebi, and these kind of amaze me in a way, because when you look at the swatches on the models, on the ladies with the darker skin complexions, they look really, really intense and dark, and so I was a little bit nervous. But then on super fair complexions, it's almost like they're deceptively sheer, but still very pigmented. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I was really just impressed by how flattering they are across a spectrum, which honestly shouldn't be surprising. But this day and age, it still kind of is. So the other one that I picked up is from the Nude Chocolates, and it is in the shade Toffee. This one is my favorite. It is so pretty. This is what it looks like here. This is going to be what I apply today, but I am still going to give you a swatch of it. That is it right there. So I'm going to go ahead and apply it. It is honestly my perfect nudie brown. By the way, they smell like cake. So good. So I love it because, first of all, it glides on so comfortably and beautifully, and oh, it's a joy to wear. It is matte without being like suck your face off, dry, shriveled up, nasty lips. That it's so comfortable, even though it is a matte finish. It doesn't feel like a matte finish. Does that make sense? I certainly hope so. For me, it is a beautiful brown, but it has kind of a rusty undertone to it. So it doesn't come across as being a warm brown on me, but it also doesn't come off as a cool brown. Cool browns for me are a little bit harder because they wash out my skin tone so badly and they just make me look a little bit dead. This has just enough kind of rusty red to it that it still pulls as a neutral brown with life to my skin, and I love it. I love it. I cannot speak more highly about these two lipsticks. They're awesome. I think you should buy the palette because it's beautiful. I think that you should buy the lipsticks because they're amazing. Like, I'm not usually one that's like, yes, go buy it right now. But these I'm kind of like that with. They're so good. They are so good. And I really want more. I know. But I'm going to show restraint. But they're so good. They're so good. Anyway, okay, I'm going to stop because this has been super rambly. I realized that my story never actually came to a point. And unfortunately, that point is we're getting a new AC unit. I don't know when. We're going to be scheduling that on Monday and doing all the financing and all that kind of nonsense. But yeah, so we're getting a new AC. Now, I will say, we've been in this house for 7 years. We did, it was a new build when we moved in. So ACs, they don't last forever, and they do typically start to have issues around the 7 to 10 year mark. So, I mean, it was kind of inevitable, I guess. But it is disappointing that we're having to, you know, buy a new AC unit. But the reason that I kind of went down this path is because I just wanted to let everybody know that, you know, we weren't in a dangerous situation, especially with the children. It was just an uncomfortable situation, especially with the children. But, you know, what are you gonna do? It's life, right? Anyway, Thank you for spending so much time with me today. I'm sure this is going to be a super long video, but let me know, have you picked up any of these products, especially these lipsticks, because I feel like I'm going to just talk about them endlessly. And if so, what are your thoughts? Have you picked up this palette? What do you think of the look? Do you love it? Do you hate it? I want to know all about it. Let's chat in the comments. Thank you for spending some time with me today. I hope that you are having an amazing day, and I will see you next time. Bye.